Okay, so here we are in the Visual Studio Code. Um, and what the first thing that we did, we named this HTML. Let's change the name of it. So I'm going to right click on it and I'm going to go down to rename. So that way we'll specify what type of a file this is. So let's call our file index.html. Okay. And that's going to just, for those of you that don't know, basically the landing page for any website that you go to is typically named index. So we're going to name our test page index.html. So we've done that. And then what we're doing right now is as we're going through Edmentum, so we went to the creating a web pages in HTML tutorial. And then I just went to the first part that has some actual coding in it. For me, it's very helpful to see what I'm doing rather than just reading about it. I think that if we're actually doing some programming as we're learning programming, I think that that's going to be beneficial for most of us. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to set up what our document is. So we want to tell the program what this file is and what this document is. So we're going to make a doc type HTML. So the nice thing about VSC, and this is not a program that I have a lot of experience with, but it's free and something that we have available to us at the school. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to set up our doc type. So again, in Edmentum, it's showing us how to set up our document type. And VSC is nice because it will pretty much help us with our syntax and let us know what we're doing. So it already knows this is an HTML file because we named our file index.html. Very simple. So that's how we would start off our file for a HTML document, just to let the whatever's reading the program to know that it's an HTML file. And then we're going to put in our HTML files. And again, a nice thing about VSC is it'll also add your closing tag. So we're going to have our HTML opening tag, and then a closing tag is this, and you're going to learn all this through Edmentum, but I'm just going to, so this little slash is telling us that that's the closing tag. So this is the beginning of the HTML section, and this is the end of the HTML section. So what we're going to do as we're going through Edmentum is I'd just like us to be able to experiment with it a little bit, play around with it a little bit to look at what we're actually doing. Reading this is fine, and kind of seeing an example of that is fine. But I think if you actually have the opportunity to play around with the code a little bit and see what's changing, I think that that's going to be helpful. I know it would be helpful for me. As we go, I want you guys just to follow along, create these little tags in your VSC so that we can make a web page. Typically in any file that you make, I mean, it's just like a traditional geeky coding thing, is that the first thing that any program does is says hello world. So we're going to make a tag, and I'm going to put a p tag, which is a paragraph tag. You can make a bunch of different tags that you'll learn about, but the first thing that you would do is always tell your program to say hello world. Okay, so I'm just going to Control S to save this file, and then we're going to go into our folder that we created this file in. For you guys, you won't have all this stuff. This is my work computer, so I have a whole bunch of stuff in here, but you'll just go to your Comp Sci 2025, you'll double click on the file that we're making, and then, hey, look at my really fancy website. It says hello world. So we created that in VSC, and now what you can do, so as we're working through Edmentum and we're adding more things, so like I'm going to put in an H1, a header tag. Again, it makes the closing tag for me. I'm going to just say Computer Science 2025, and then I'm going to save that file, just Control S, save, and then I'll go back to the little website that I made, right? This really fancy website. It's just open in my Chrome browser, and then when I refresh it, it'll automatically show us what changes we just made. So hopefully that makes sense. Just a way for us to follow along with Edmentum so that we're actually programming as we go. Your file will look different than mine because you'll be following Edmentum explicitly. But don't be afraid to play around with this, add whatever stuff. If you want to experiment with it a little bit, this would be a good place to do that because then you can just go into your browser, your Chrome browser, and see what kind of changes that you've made. Hopefully this made sense. If you have any questions before you move forward in Edmentum Unit 4, please let me know. Thank you.